Hi, Rhode Island! It's me, Will Ritter. I'm the author and illustrator of the ODDMIRE series, and I was so honored when Changeling was selected for this year's Reading Across Rhode Island book, and devastated when I found out that I wouldn't get to come and meet a lot of you because of what's going on in the world right now. So, the organizers were really awesome and let me know that I would be able to reach out to you over the internet instead. And they thought that some of you might be interested in the other side of what I do. So while I hope that a lot of you are enjoying the story, today we're going to draw some pictures. Sound good? Now those of you who have already started reading know that the ODDMIRE is set in the wild wood, and if there's one thing that there's a lot of in a deep dark forest, it's trees. So I thought that today we would get started by drawing trees. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest and I love getting out in nature. We have so many different kinds of trees and I like drawing nature also. And one of the reasons I like drawing nature is because it's really hard to screw it up. As Bob Ross will tell you, there are no mistakes when you're drawing nature, just happy little accidents. So I have a ton of fun when I'm drawing trees and bushes and things, and I hope that you'll have fun with this one. Let's get started. Now, one of the things that I think about when I'm about to start a drawing are the shapes that are going to be in the overall form. So for a tree like that one of the things that I'm going to think about are the rectangle shapes that go into that trunk and the sort of big round oval shapes that are going to go into those branches. And I'm going to start really light with my pencil so that I have a general idea of where those are going to go. These lines are all going to get erased eventually, so I'm not going to worry about making them dark yet. But then, once I've got my basic idea, here's how I proceed with a tree. Again, I start with those lines for the trunk, and I leave myself some spaces so that I can tuck in some branches. Now down below, I make it really easy for myself. I give just a little hint of the roots going off, and then some little hints of grass down at the bottom, and I'm all done. I don't need to add a whole lot of details. Up above, now I'm going to create all of those leaves going around the outside, and they don't need to be perfect either. They're just a bunch of little triangle loops. And then, right where the trunk and the branches disappear into the leaves, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of those just to hide where that trunk vanishes and where the branch vanishes. The next step is a lot of fun. Now I get to add leaves, and you don't have to add leaves on every single part of it. In fact, part of adding the leaves is creating a little bit of shading. So I'm going to pretend that there's a sun up on this side pointing down this way. And that means that I don't want to draw as many lines up in this area because I want it to stay bright, but I want to draw lots of little lines down on this side because I want that to look darker. And then as I get higher, I'll put fewer, but still one or two here and there. And again, happy little accidents. It's okay if there's one in a place that you didn't plan for it to be, because in the end, it's all going to look like the same kind of natural shapes. Now here's one more little trick to make it look extra fancy. Right here where the trunk meets the leaves, I'm going to add a little dark shadow. And that's going to make it look like the leaves are casting a shadow down on the trunk. I'll do the same thing over here on the branches. It doesn't take much. I'm not adding a whole lot, just enough to give a little indication that there's shading there. And look at that. Doesn't that make it look just a little more three-dimensional? If I want to, I can add lots of other details. If I want to make things going off into the distance, then I might make them thinner and lighter because I want them to appear like they're farther away. But in the end, what you've drawn is a pretty good looking tree. You can use that basic process for drawing all kinds of trees. My son's favorite is a birch tree. Those ones are pretty much the same. They just tend to be a little bit skinnier, a little different. You can draw really big, fat, knotty trees. Or you can draw really, really thin trees. You can even tuck in some more specific kinds of trees. Another fun one is a willow tree. Keep practicing until you've created your own forest of trees, and by then you're likely to have learned a few things, and hopefully you've had some fun along the way. And because I'm sure all of that went really fast, let's break it down one more time with just the basic steps. First, you find the shapes in whatever you're going to draw. Then you're going to give yourself just 2 lines to make a simple trunk with a couple of gaps with lines coming out of them to make those simple branches. Next, you define the edges of the leaves with just simple curves, and you also draw the edges of them right where they attach to the trunk and the branches, and maybe just a couple of little bits of grass down on the ground. Fourth, you add a couple of details. That means going in and putting some of those little extra leaves along the inside, and maybe just a few toward the light, but not too many. You're not going to overdo it. And then the last step I'll add to that one, you add a tiny bit of shading, just to make it pop out a little bit more and seem more 3-dimensional. So that's it. Simple 4-step process to making your own beautiful looking trees. Have fun with that. Happy drawing!